Hi and welcome to another lesson from the STEM channel. This time our lesson is about geometry and we're going to use pizza pie to introduce circles and the value of pi. You can get what you need for this lesson on my Etsy shop, the STEM channel, that's the name of my shop, and you can find it in Etsy. You can download all the worksheets and slides you need. To stay up to date on what videos I post and what lessons are available, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, the STEM channel. So in this video, we're going to start with lead-ins, how to lead into a lesson. And then we're going to talk about what individual students can do. And then in the third part, you can look at what groups can do. Materials you will use in addition to the worksheets and the slides is cardboard, some cardboard. If you get a pizza box, that's great. If you get more than one size pizza box, that's even better. You also need glue, like school glue, nothing too strong, some yarn, scissors, a ruler, and if your students are going to share, maybe a ruler per group and a pair of scissors per group. So all these materials that can be used in a group. If you have students working in pairs, again, you can have the same set for 2 students, and if they're working individually, you can provide them or they can bring their own supplies. So let's start with part 1. So this is the first slide. So the lesson is called Pizza Pie, pie without an E. As you know, many people refer to pizza as a pizza pie because it's round, and many of you have probably used an actual pie or like, the idea of a pie to introduce circles, radius, diameter, and all those concepts. So this is a cool slide that you can use to start a lesson. Maybe you can ask your students to predict what's coming in the lesson. And this is your first worksheet. You can see that there are cards of different emotion pizzas. You can do whatever you like with those. You can use them for students to introduce themselves, talk about, when they feel happy, when they feel sad. So basically try to relate to those emotions in the pizza cards. You have a slide for this as well. So this slide, if you're using a smart board, you can number the different emotions and do any activity you like with them, really. It's a really nice way to introduce the lesson. And if you look at all the materials in the STEM channel, they are kept simple, just to give you the flexibility to do any activity you can think of, an activity that works for your students. For example, here you can do a mill drill. Students walk up to each other, each with a card, and they ask another, they say, think of a time when you made this face, and they show them the card, and then they ask them follow-up questions. So in addition to the mill drill, you can sit students in groups and have the cards face down, and then students draw a card and they try to match a meme, like, the comment of a meme, and each one of them comes up with one, and they decide which meme will get the most likes. So this is the slide you need, slide 2, and this is the worksheet. Now moving on to the second worksheet, which is a crossword, and the clues are more visual than verbal. So usually you have clues that are written down, and now you have clues that are visual. So if your students are not familiar with the concept of crosswords, especially younger students are not, you can explain what it is, and this is what slide 3 is for. You can draw on the slide and then explain to them how it works, the down and across and so on. Now, an interactive way of doing this crossword is to put the clues around the room. And here, usually when I put the clues around the room, they have actual words, and all students have to do is go memorize them for a short bit and then go and tell them to their team members. So what you can do here is allow them to carry a pen or a pencil and actually walk up to the group after they memorized the part of a circle, this is a semicircle, this is a radius, and so on. So they can either come back and say a radius because they know the answer, or they can come back and they say it goes from the center of the circle to the circumference. So it's a great way for them to communicate even better than having verbal clues. So now we're going to do part 2, which is actually talking about the value of pi. And in this worksheet, that goes with slide number 4, you have some questions. They start really simple with how many slices of pizza are there. You can say in a small pizza, in a medium pizza, just to get them thinking about a very familiar concept, which is how big is a slice depending on the arc, depending on the radius. Some people cut pizzas into squares, for example. So you just get them thinking about that in question 1. And in question 2, 3, and 4, if you have a ready circle, like they can draw a circle themselves, and they just measure that with a ruler. So that's one way to do it. Now, they can measure everything with a ruler except for a circumference. So here you're going to introduce a problem for them, and they have to start thinking about the solution. So this is a very cognitive question in which students can start thinking and thinking about a solution to a problem. And in slide 6, you can show the students what they need to bring or what they need for this activity. So let's say you're planning this lesson, the lesson before this lesson, you can show them this slide and you can ask them to bring the supplies from home, or you can provide them with the supplies. Most of these things are available in any house and in any school. So, but it's good for students to have this full picture, this complete picture of what they need so that they can anticipate what's coming next. The cardboard, for example, you can bring it, they can bring it. We all receive deliveries by post, so every house has cardboards. And so you have supplies and you have knowledge. So make sure you know what the circumference is and what the diameter is. So because these are the two parts of a circle we're going to measure. So step 1 has 4 different steps. So part 1, you can call it, has 4 different steps. So first you glue a piece of string around the circle. Let's watch together. So you cut some yarn. You can show them this video. And then with the glue stick, I like the glue stick and I like to use a lot of it. We're measuring the circumference because with yarn, because it's flexible, because it's bendy. When I monitor this activity, I make sure that they're doing it right, teach them some accuracy in the way they implement or follow the steps. So we're done with number 1. Now we're going to remove the string. Next, we're going to measure the string with a ruler and write down the length of the circumference. And this brings us to step 2, which is measuring the diameter. So we glue a piece of string this time across the middle of the circle, which is the diameter. And we do that 2 more times. You see how when you put glue in the middle, it stays. This is why I like to overuse the glue. This is repeating step. So after gluing a piece of string across the middle of the circle, we removed it, measured it with a ruler. So now we have the diameter measurement. And then we do that 2 more times. And now is the part when students can explore. You can give them a choice. They can either continue working with yarn or use a calculator to measure how many diameters there are in a circumference. So you can ask, how many diameters did you find in the circumference? And the answer will be the value of pi, a little over 3 diameters. And that's when you introduce pi. So this is a very memorable way to introduce pi, because when you have the kinesthetic learners, even if students chose to use the calculator, they would still, it'll still be memorable. And then you can say that the circumference is pi divided by diameter. And then you can have a little discussion, which way did you prefer? Of course, this is using a calculator is faster, and using yarn is maybe fun for some. Some students might find it too sticky. So we did the lead-ins in groups, which can also work in a small group or a small class or homeschooling. And also we looked at how the worksheet can be followed as individuals or in pairs, smaller groups. And now we're going to look at an activity that can be done again as individuals, as small groups. But what I like to do is give each group a different size pizza or a different size cardboard so that it shows how, regardless of the size of the circle, so when you're doing the diameter, when you're doing the circumference, they can see that it makes sense that each circle will have a different size because there's a bigger circle with a bigger diameter. But then when you get to pi, that's when they see that this stays the same, pi stays the same. So in here in this video, you can see how the 3 sizes of pizza will look like. So you give one piece of cardboard to a different group. And this would be your board plan. So this is the plan you have on the board. You can have it on flip chart paper, on a smart board, regular board, but it's nice to have this visible to all throughout the class. So you act like, yeah, small pizza, this is what it should look like, the sizes according to small pizzas, medium and large. Here they are. These are the measurements. Of course, you have to monitor like step by step to see, they can come and check with you before they put their answers on the board. So here in blue, the small pizza, that belongs to one group. So you can see the progression. So number of slices, it doesn't really matter, but it's good for discussion, like a lead-in. And then you have the radius. Now here it's a good idea. In the worksheet, you have radius and diameter. When we did the measurement, it was all diameter, but of course, you can explain to them that a diameter is 2 radii. So they measure, this is in inches, you can do it in centimeters, whatever measurement system you like, or they use. You can use it obviously in any language. And so you can do all the measurements up to the last one, which is how many diameters in a circumference. So you can see how all the values were different, and students are thinking, yes, that makes sense. And then you come to the pi, which will always be 3.13, 3.14, and so on. So you say all you need to do is multiply pi with diameter. Now this sets the foundation for the uses of pi throughout their lives. So this is why you can see why this lesson is so important. So once you know that the value of pi remains the same, once they start doing sizes, volume, calculus, they can understand what the importance of pi is. How cool is that? Thank you for watching, and I hope that you will go to the STEM channel in Etsy and purchase all the materials. They're really good value for money. They're prepared and designed using images with commercial license, so you don't have to worry about copyright or anything like that. And I hope you enjoy teaching pizza pie.